Hello and welcome to today's video. This is the mid-year freakout tag, the mid-year freakout book tag, however you want to word it. It's the tag that goes around every year and I'm actually really late on it this year. I was already like pittering on late. I wanted to get this out like the first video of July, didn't do that. But then the last weekend that's just gone by, so many people have like uploaded theirs and I'm like, right, now I'm actually late, let's do this tag. This is the tag that I do every year. It was originally created something like 12 years ago maybe, I don't know. It was created a long time ago by a couple of YouTubers. I don't think either are active anymore, but I know that I found links a few years ago, so I'll include those same links down below. You'll be able to like see where it originated from. And yeah, this is just the mid-year freakout tag. It consists of 13 questions and the questions are all about the reading year. As this is the mid-year tag, I'm going to do this including like all books from like the 1st of January to the 30th of June, like just the first half of the year. As of that day, I'd read 99 books, which is pretty crazy. I don't know if I'm happy about it. I mean, like, I am happy. If all the books have been good, I'd be happy. Let's put it like that. We're having a weird year. We're having a very weird year. Yeah, my answers to the questions are probably going to be a bit all over the place. To be perfectly honest, I think my reading taste is changing a lot this year. I already own a lot of books that I've always wanted to read, so I'm trying to get through those before I feel like my reading taste completely changes. But I also don't know if that's the best thing to do in terms of quality, because it's not working for a lot. I've also got really good at DNFing. Those 99 books doesn't include the books that I've DNF'd. I think I've DNF'd 5 or 6 books already this year, which I mean might not be a lot to some people, but for me, like, to officially DNF that book, especially sometimes I'm DNFing like an entire series by DNFing a book, like that's a lot for me. Like, it's normally 2 DNFs a year probably, like, so yeah, you know, like, we're definitely getting better. So yeah, I'm just gonna answer the questions. That's gonna be it. I know some people include a load of statistics, but to be perfectly honest, I haven't organised those statistics yet, so in the next week or two expect a video that's all about my like Q2 statistics. And if you want to see my Q1 statistics, so January, February, March, I'll link that video up above because that's already done. So yeah, within the next week or so expect Q2, April, May, June to be up. So yeah, not going to worry about statistics. Let's just get into the questions. Question number 1. Best book you've read so far in 2023. I can't pick one, but I have been able to narrow it down to 2. So it's between these 2. There are others that are close by, like there's others that I've given the same or similar ratings, but I don't think about them enough. These 2 I still think about pretty consistently, and I think I read this one in January and this one was maybe March. Don't quote me on that, but like they were both early on in the year. So the fact that I still think about these now tells me I'm doing a fairly decent job. So yeah, these are definitely up there. I can't imagine them not being in my top 10 at the end of the year. Like, I'd need to read 10 books basically between now and the end of the year that are better than these to knock them out. So I imagine you'll see both of them. So this is Legends and Lattes, which is a fantasy book that is all about Viv, an orc barbarian who is like putting down the sword, the war instruments, and going to a little town and opening a coffee shop, and it's absolutely lovely. I really enjoyed it. I actually have an entire reading vlog for this book, so I'll link that. But yeah, it still sticks with me. It was 5 stars. It was absolutely amazing. I had a great time. I can see myself rereading this, and we're actually getting a prequel to it at some point end of this year, start of next year, something like that. So I'm really excited to get my hands on that too and see if I enjoy that one just as much. And then the other one is Last Violent Call. So within this book it's bound up 2 short stories. So there's 2 short stories are called A Foul Thing and This Foul Murder. So essentially these are 2 short stories that take place after Foul Lady Fortune, but to read this and kind of get the full understanding, you need to have read both of the books in the These Violent Delights duology, and then also read Foul Lady Fortune. This is kind of like bridging the gap between the series and bringing it together, but you also need to read this before the second book in the Foul Lady Fortune duology, because that will continue on and like take place after this book. And it was so good. It answered so many questions. I was so shocked. I had such a great time, and I really can't tell you anything else because honestly I can't think of anything I could tell you that wouldn't be spoilers for something. But just know, if you've enjoyed the like Chloe Gong Shanghai series books so far, this is definitely worth picking up. Yeah, great. Question number 2 is best sequel you've read so far in 2023. For me, this has to be, no, let me make sure I get the title right, The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. This is the second book in the Serpent and the Wings of Night duology series thing. It's a series of 3 duologies, so I'm not sure exactly how you're meant to talk about it, but right now the duology is completed, so I guess duology. But I assume you'll have had to have read this first duology to continue on with the rest of the series. I don't really know. But yeah, it was book 2. It was the second part of the duology of The Serpent and the Wings of Night, The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. It was so good. And I was not expecting a lot from it. Even though I really, really enjoyed The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Like, it was great. It was amazing. It was like, you know, up there in some of like the best books I've read. Because how it ended, I wasn't looking forward to the second one. I didn't think it'd do a lot. I thought I'd be annoyed. I thought I'd have a lot of issues, and I didn't. It was a solid book. It explored so many more things. It went in so many different directions, and it fits so much into the story. I just couldn't believe it. And yeah, I had a great time with it. Again, it's a second book. It's a sequel, so I can't tell you anything about it. But the characters' stories got like even bigger. We learn even more. We learn more about like the world as a whole, not even just like the character bases. We saw many different aspects of life and how it can do different things, and it was very satisfying. Like, even though there was a lot going on in the book, by the end, like it is the second book of a duology, it was a really satisfying ending. So yeah, I was really happy with it. Question number 3, a new release you haven't read yet but want to. I'm actually going to tell you 3. I really want to read Witch King by Martha Wells. This is a fantasy book by the author. I've read everything that's currently out of the Murderbot Diaries and absolutely love it. And I knew that the author had like a backlist of quite a few fantasies, but I've never explored it. So I think picking up a new fantasy and seeing if I like it, like the writing style, like how the world building happens in a fantasy compared to a sci-fi, not only will it open up this new series the author's bringing out, it will also open up like a very large backlist. So I'm very excited to pick that one up. Then the second one is Moth Keeper. This is a graphic novel that looks absolutely lovely. I've read other graphic novels by the author and have had an amazing time, like 5 stars all around. I can't imagine reading this book and it being less than 5 stars, so would really like to get around to it soon. And then the final book, the third one I'm going to talk about that is a new release but I haven't got around to yet, is Lost in the Moment and Found. I started Wayward Children this year. It's amazing. I love it. I'm still catching up to get to the newest release, but I think I only have one like tiny little short story left and then I'll be there. So really want to get to it. Really can't wait to continue. I haven't even looked into it more than knowing it'll just be another person's story and like where it'll be set. So yeah, really excited. Really want to see who we're following. Want to see where the story takes us. Want to see what more it adds to this world that we're learning about. Can't wait. Question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. There's an entire video that I've made on my most anticipated releases, and honestly it's really difficult to narrow it down to just one. But if I had to, I would probably say Foul Heart Huntsman. This is the final like Shanghai book. This is the final book in the Foul Lady Fortune duology, and I'm pretty sure it's going to round up a lot of things and like just finish off the entire world. Like, from what I've seen on the author's Instagram, I'm pretty confident that like this is it for this world that we're seeing. So I would say that that's like pretty high up on that anticipated list. Like, if you ask me a different day, might it be a different one that I'm most anticipating? Yeah, sure. But today, that one. Like, I can't wait to finish it off and just feel like it's all complete. And there's so many unanswered questions right now and so many things that I can't wait to explore in this final book. I think it's going to be an amazing time. Question number 5. Biggest disappointment? The Luminaries. 100% the Luminaries. Yeah, this was a massive disappointment. I thought it was going to be like 5 stars, new favourite series, like couldn't wait. Thought I'd, you know, end up loving it. I don't remember what I gave it, but it was like 2 or 3 stars. It was bad. It's not a bad book. I would say it has been advertised badly. I would say it's very, very young YA. Like, I would 100% give this to like my 12, 13, 14-year-old self. Think it'd be great. I would have loved it at that age. But the way it was marketed, it didn't sound like that to me. It sounded like it was going to be YA that I'd still enjoy. It sounded like it was going to be YA that was like interesting enough. I would say this would be a great book to give to young readers. I'd say it'd be a great book to give to someone that's like considering getting into fantasy. And it's also like, I would say like, even if you're older, if you want to get into fantasy, maybe like not adult old, but like older YA, I'd still say it'd be decent. Like, everything is very clearly laid out. There's no questions, there's no worries, you don't need to extrapolate anything. But I just had a really bad time with it. It was extremely obvious. Obviously everyone's reading is different, right? Like, I'm not going to say if you're over 14 I won't give it to you, but I would say the way it's been advertised is in the entire like YA demographic, which is like, you know, I don't think there's an exact age, but I feel like if books are being advertised as YA, they're normally between kind of like 13 to 18. That's kind of where you expect them to fall into. But this, I personally feel, caters for a very small. I'm not saying you couldn't enjoy it, but like, I don't think it's going to be a new favourite if you already read a lot of fantasy. Like, you know, there's so much YA fantasy that I still read and enjoy, and this didn't come close to it. So yeah, I don't really know what to say. I don't want to moan about it. I've probably done enough of that, but yeah, it's definitely biggest disappointment. Question number 6. Biggest surprise. This is a very easy one. This is Zodiac Academy. Yeah, I read it. I've got on that bandwagon, and I understand the bandwagon. I'm like kind of fully on it. I've read the first 6 books in it now. Yeah, I went into this not expecting a lot. I was doing it for a video, like the video never came together, so it never came out, but like I was doing a Kindle Unlimited video, and I'd heard so much about this series that I was like, oh, like fine, let's give it a go. Yeah, it's so good. I understand it. A lot of people say you need to get to book 4. Like, if you want to read the series, you might as well give it a go up until book 4. And that's never sat right with me, but I get it now. I do get it now. Like, I would say it's worth continuing. I think I was properly hooked at book 3, but I understand. The best way I can think to describe it to help, like, obviously I believe it's new adult, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to explain it the best way I can think to. And it's not to the same scale in any way, but I feel like a lot of people who are reading new adult fantasy have probably read a fair bit of young adult fantasy first. Throne of Glass, this series here. If you've read this, you know how much the story changes, you know how much goes on, you know the difference between like book 1 and book whatever, pick a different one. Like, there's a massive difference, right? It's not to the same level as that in any way, but I would say there's a massive like character shift throughout the series. Not so much plot, although there is a bit of a plot shift, but like there's a massive character shift. Like, imagine Throne of Glass, like not necessarily the plot shifts, but the character shifts. Like, and that's why I feel like people say you need to give it a fair few books. And yeah, I really get that. And to be perfectly honest, I read like 6 of them in a row. Like, it really helped me get out of a slump. I haven't picked one up in a while, although I definitely plan to continue on reading even more of it soon. So yeah. Question number 7. favourite new author, and this can be debut or new to you. I don't really have anyone I'm confident telling you yet. I've got 2 authors that I feel like have potential to make it to that official like favourite list, but no one has yet. So the 2 authors are Nalini Singh and Jay Bree. Nalini Singh, I've been reading all of the Archangel series. I've read 6 of them now and I'm loving it, but I will never put an author on my complete favourite list having only read 1 series, unless that's her only series, and this isn't the author's only series. So definitely think that Nalini Singh has potential to make it to that list, but I haven't read enough to decide yet. And then Jay Bree, the exact same. I've read an entire 6-book series by the author. I read the Broken Bond series. A little bit of a hint into how my July is going. I have started the new series by the author. But yeah, it's one of those again where has massive potential to make it to that list. I love the 1 series I've read, but I need to read more to cement it. So but yeah, Nalini Singh and Jay Bree, both authors that are like potential new favourites. Not confident enough to officially put them on that list yet, but I do feel like I'd be surprised if at least one of them didn't officially make it to that list. Question number 8. Newest fictional crush. I always change this question. I don't really do fictional crushes. Like I don't really like do that. But I normally change it to fictional ship. So like when I've been reading like the couple, the not necessarily even couple, maybe they're not even together, I don't know. But like a ship. I mean, I'm sure if you're on BookTube, you know a ship. But essentially 2 people you're like rooting for, you think should be together. So I would say for me that this is probably Lena and Belle from Airy, which is actually the 2 characters on the front of the book. But yeah, I really like shipped them, I really rooted for them. I found it very natural the way the 2 characters were growing together. I found it very natural, like it was definitely like a friendship forged, I would say. Although this is like enemies technically. I don't know, there's a lot of tropes that are technically in this book, but it's like for how long, you know? And yeah, I can't wait for the 2nd book in this duology, because without giving too much away, it's slow burn. Let's say it like that. This book is incredibly slow to burn in the fact that like I even feel like I need the 2nd book to confirm things. So yeah, it's just a very slow burn fantasy romance, but I can't wait to see where book 2 takes us, and I definitely am like on board with this. It feels very natural, it feels very real, it doesn't seem weird. I don't know, a lot of fantasy romance, even if I'm like completely on board with it and I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm reading this, I'm having a great time, there's a bit of weirdness there. There's still a little, oh okay, we'll just ignore that little thing. There was none of that in this book. It was a very lovely book. Question number 9. Newest favourite character. I don't really have any. Yeah, my reading year has been weird. I don't know. Even books I've enjoyed, I don't feel like there's any standout characters from. Obviously I want to pick someone for this video, so I will. But again, it's one where it's like I don't feel like I've read enough to like 100% cement this. But there's a character called Cassia in Blood Mercy, which is the 1st book in a series. I really like the character, I really do. Like I feel like if I'd have read more of the series, like I might be able to answer this more confidently. But I guess that's it. Like in this 1st book we only saw a very small part of her personality and who she was and what she wanted and like all that thing. So I really feel like I need to read more of the series and see more of her personality before I can officially say new favourite character. But high hopes for a new favourite. How about that? So yeah. Question number 10. A book that made you cry. I haven't read any this year. I haven't read any. I think if I was a more emotional person, this book could have made me cry. This is Bingo Love. It's a very lovely story about 2 grandmas who get a second chance to love each other, and it was emotional, but it didn't actually make me cry. But it was an emotional read, and I do think if I was like more naturally emotional person, then I could have cried from it. Pick a different day, pick a different mindset, this could have made me cry. So this is what I'll pick for this. We did actually, but I definitely felt emotional for it, and I was definitely, there's a few times where I was like, oh okay. So yeah, book that made me cry. We'll go Bingo Love. It made me emotional, and so far this year. That's the closest we can get. If there's any books you'd recommend that are like, especially more fantasy leaning books that would make me cry, like, I don't know. I'm really in a fantasy mood, but I'm struggling to find books I really want to read. Leave recommendations. Question 11. I can't do hands anymore. Question 11. A book that made you happy. Every Heart a Doorway. This is the first book in the Wayward Children series. It's not an overly happy book. Like, there are difficult things, there are tough things to deal with in this. Like, it's not a nice, cozy, easy book. But a lot of the things that happen in this book did make me happy. Like, the characters, the character interactions, how the friendships and like this kind of like chosen family was forming. It was a very heartwarming, happy book in that sense. The plot side of it, a lot of heavy things, but the actual characters, it did make me happy. And out of all the books I've read, this is definitely like the most fitting for this question. Question 12. The most beautiful book you've brought or received this year. I have two possible answers for this. I'm going to pick back up Last Violent Call. I'm also going to pick up The Shadow Cabinet. These are both Waterstones exclusive editions, which means there's a little bit extra to like an average edition of the book, but it's not like over the top. Like, they still cost the same price as just buying the regular book, but they're limited in Waterstones. They normally last a month maybe until they switch to the regular edition. So Last Violent Call looks the exact same as how you'd expect, but when you take off the dust jacket we see this like absolutely stunning foiling, like on the spine as well, and I think it's really pretty. I do kind of wish they'd have gone the extra step and given us some sprayed edges, but that's what we're getting for that one. And I do think it's a really pretty edition. I'm not someone who normally like cares much about the edition of my books. Like, most of the books I get from charity shops, but I do think that that one is particularly pretty. And as I said, like, the Waterstone exclusive editions are the same price as buying the book normally. Like, you know, they don't ever really go on sale, whereas like, you know, sometimes you'll go into a Waterstone and they'll be £2 off the normal edition. But yeah, it's not out of pocket to get a super special edition. But then the other one is The Shadow Cabinet. This again, Waterstones edition, and this got really lovely bright pink sprayed edges that I just feel like really add to it. I don't actually know if it's got anything special underneath it. It hasn't, it's just got a regular spine. But yeah, the special edition part of this is these bright pink sprayed edges, and like, this is already like a stunning cover, right? Like, this is just normal stunning cover. I just feel like the pop of like the bright pink, I don't know, I really like it. So yeah, that's those. Maybe I'll get a super special edition of something I love before the end of the year, but to be honest, I'm pretty chill. I much prefer reading paperbacks. That's my main thing. Like, I'm only investing in hardbacks of a series if I'm loving it, or if I somehow find it in a charity shop. You know, like, most of the books I get are paperbacks because that's just what I prefer reading. So don't really do super pretty, super special editions of books. And then question 13, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? There aren't any specific books for me. There's no books that I'm thinking about and I'm like, oh look, I must read that. Like, there's nothing like that. However, I've started a ridiculous amount of series this year and I've finished very few. So what I'd really love to do this year, like the books that I really need to read, is just books to continue on series, especially when I already own them, such as, you know, there's like Caraval, Daughter of Smoke and Bone, Wayward Children, The 100. Like, those are all books that I already own the series. I already like know I need to read them, I'm just not. There's other series as well. There's like Fortuna Sworn, Daughter of Lost Worlds. What are some others that I've started? I don't know, what series have I been reading? The Archangel series, Binti, Fina, yeah, there's just loads. Oh, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, there's loads. The more I look, the more I'm gonna see. So yeah, I would just really like to continue on reading books that are part of a series and finishing some more series. Else we're gonna start next year having a hell of a lot of series to continue on with. Right, that was the last question. I am not going to chat because it's just started chucking it down and I sit right next to a window, so you're going to hear that. And it's getting heavier and heavier. But I do really hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your favourite book of the year. Let me know your most disappointing. Let me know people that you would recommend me watching, like booktube people, anyone you think has a similar reading taste. Literally anything. Let me know down below, and if you want to just leave a comment but you don't know what to put, maybe put the little like books emoji. So yeah, do hope you enjoyed the video. Please do give it a like, subscribe down below if you'd like to see more content like this. Hopefully you can't hear the rain already, and I'll see you next time. Bye.